studying the source now. Supreme Elite. New Empire talk. Came on reading numbers, they were reading memes. He was reading filings, planning out the dream. Turn every late fee into case law heat. Judge bang gavel, he don't skip a beat. They like how you flip stress into assets. How you turn a loss into last check. Thomas took notes, broke codes, then he proved it. Now the classroom global and the language fluid. Thomas is the blueprint. Write that in the sky, let the crew print. From the courtroom smoke to the new man. He designed the way we move our 2 cents. Thomas is the blueprint. Supreme Elite team, that's the school stamp. From the first lay bill to the full camp. New culture empire, watch the flag plan. Supreme Elite Team University. Turn the credit score into currency. Turn the closed door to a first key. Turn the side job to a legacy. He beat odds, then he beat litigation. Now we teach law like a new translation. From confusion into consultation. From survival into foundation. They log in, lights on in their eyes now. Section this, call that. They reply now. He like, know your rights, then apply now. God, that's the real drip. Let it dry now. Thomas is the blueprint. Write that in the sky, let the crew print. From the courtroom smoke to the new man. He designed the way we move our 2 cents. Thomas is the blueprint. Supreme Elite team, that's the school stamp. Wave it. From the first lay bill to the full camp. New culture empire, watch the flag plan. From the bench to the block, he reversed that. Put the power in the pen, yeah, he birthed that. Every mind that he frees, that's a verse that. Whole culture on the rise, you can search that. Hey. Thomas is the blueprint. Write that in the sky, let the blueprint. From the courtroom smoke to the new man. He designed the way we move our 2 cents. Thomas is the blueprint. Supreme Elite team, that's the school stamp. From the first lay bill to the full camp. New culture empire, watch the flag plan.
You're rocking with the best.
Everybody talks about sending a QWR, a RESPA request, or a notice of error. But here's the problem. A lot of those letters never trigger the duty people think they do. Tonight, we're breaking down the QWR issue, what borrowers actually send, what servicers actually send back, and why courts keep siding with the servicer. The difference is not how long the letter is. It's specificity, delivery, identification, and the numbers inside the servicer's own records. This is the new culture empire. Let's get into the QWR RESPA and notice of error trap.
36 chickens, 36 bits out the kitchen, 36 skins on the fish, I'm bitch stitches, Logan and West in the Smith, on money get no omissions, on money get no commissions, you know it's official when I'm trying to catch you with dope with the business, still look through the snow for the poor baby, hit them all win for the bad, check the time, then Lil 100, don't play with that money. Leave your head in the dumpster with dope in the blender, trying to go I send you, I'm in the game, Luka Doncic on these niggas, I ball off the no scale. CD bags up, you know cause these hoes here. All I wanted was money in the bag, the Jimmy could show with the plastic. Stretching that P like elastic, hoes from skating my dick like a hat trick. You play with your life, I'ma snatch it. Ops in the blunt, we rolling up cactus. I don't fuck with a bitch and she ratchet, and she better come with an accent. Drove by the zip, for the PO, I stuck on my dick, now deep in the stove. I stopped on this bitch, I got 3 different flows. Only heat that he had was the heat on the stove. I make a cold in the and I need a rat so I can eat, I'm a snake. My bitch from Louisiana, and she Creole with stick and head. Hop up and knowledge, she clear. We ain't missing, ain't no shots at the free throw. The out of time, got them thinking it's zero.
You're rocking with the best. You're rocking with the best. You're rocking with the best. You're rocking with the best.
Welcome. I know. Shout out to my supporters. Shout out to my clients. Shout out to the hate watchers. Shout out to the gurus. Shout out to my AI chat box reliant pro se legal beagles. All right, all jokes aside, we do have an issue tonight that I think we have to discuss. It's another issue that's running rampant in the pro se, do-it-yourself, self-help, cheap alternative to litigation tactics. It is the QWR RESPA notice of error issue. Now, I've received, before we get started officially, we got Facebook, YouTube, and we are streaming via voice chat on TikTok. So shout out to TikTok. Shout out to my gifters. Let's keep the movement going. If you like what you hear and you feel like if there's just anything that you like, anything that you can take and utilize in your own life, don't be afraid to show the support. I won't be mad at you. But why the hell would I ask you to show support if I don't even have the right information for you to do it? That don't make no sense. Do it. And no, once again, we messing up. There we go. So we're going to get into this report, which has been comprised over, man, if I had to guess, about 20 RESPA notice of errors reports that people have sent me. And I see the common trend. So we're going to get into this right now. I see the common trend. I think it's something that should be brought to your attention because I believe there's a misunderstanding between a servicer and standing in court and confidentially protected items and actual notice and the tollings and the clocks and the times under the statutory thing. Now, this is a consumer law thing. Now, remember, I don't teach consumer law. Like, I don't have a credit book. I don't have a turn bad credit into money book. All I know how to do is work on my personal things to get my points and my credit scores up, which is approaching 815 to the point so I can make my corporate finance moves. See, I don't teach from a book or like, get a book and you can just do this. All I can do is just show the real results that happens when I implement my credit disputes and the resulting actions. I haven't seen those results from these books, by the way. I haven't seen them. I see 5,000 books on Amazon, but I don't really see people in the mass. Somebody, yeah, my credit score my points went up, 120 points, 140 points, 60 points this period. I don't see that, but I do see a lot of books for sales. And I do see a lot of, hey, if you buy this book, if you get other people to buy the book, you're going to make commission too. That is no difference from the multi-marketing schemes that you see. The promise is that everybody's going to make all this exuberant amount of money if you sell this product, which reality, the person at the top gets paid for the people that's paying in to buy the products. So it's a pyramid scheme. But we ain't going to talk about that tonight because I think the results and the proof shows itself. There's no way that for these credit legal beagle gurus that you have a person that does not even teach credit, don't teach credit, build your credit, don't teach it at all. And he is showing more results than what these books are producing. I think that's a travesty within itself. But nevertheless, let's get to, let me pull it up. Let's get to this issue. This is one of the biggest issues that pro se litigants are facing today. And the real issue that pro se litigants are facing these problems is because pro se litigants are looking at QWRs, RESPAs, servicing letters from the wrong lens. They're looking at it from a manner in which they don't even understand the type of responses that they get. They think the responses that they get is a non-response, or the other side is trying to hide something. In reality, they're only entitled to give you what the statute requires. So once again, there's a difference between what you've seen online, what you quote unquote research, or what someone told you to ask for, versus asking for things that the servicer by law has to give you. And the reality is, in every servicing response, QWR, RESPA response that people have sent me, what they don't realize is the servicer already sent you everything that the statutory tells them to send you. You already received it. But you think that it's not good enough because you're not seeing what's really going on in the internal side. This is why many people should not be sending these documents out on their own, because they don't have enough experiences to see and understand what's really going on. But anyways, so this is volume 6. We are pushing these volumes out. We are pushing them out. Just updated the Patreon. Please be advised, just updated the Patreon. We have new the New Culture Empire podcast. We have that jumping, and I will tell you this: the New Culture Empire podcast, it's becoming popular. It's becoming very popular. I would say that it's becoming very popular. So the New Culture Empire podcast, what do we have new today? What do we have? We have the Ledger, the Hidden Figures post. As you can see here, we got episode 5, the Ledger, unlocking the secret math banks use to defeat. And as we go here, I will give y'all a little sneak preview.
So imagine for a second catching a massive corporation in a complete lie.
And then go down here, you actually got the volume, the Ledger, the actual newsletter. So it's enough sneak peek on that issue. Let's get back here. So what borrowers actually file, what servicers actually send back, while the courts keep agreeing with the servicer. Remember, this report was generated from actual requests sent to the servicer and the actual responses, and then case law on these issues. So none of this here is fabricated. Everything here you can verify. Everything here you can tell the common denominators. So the complaint and the uncomfortable answer. Every week someone says the same thing. I sent them a QWR and they didn't answer. Sometimes that is exactly what happened and the servicer broke the rule. Far more often, something else happened, and it is worth saying plainly, the letter never became a request the servicer owed anything on. Sorry. This is not a matter of opinion. Federal appellate courts have been deciding this question for more than a decade, and the pattern and the reported decisions is consistent. Letters die at the threshold. meaning a lot of your service and responses, your service and letters, your QWRs, your notice of errors are dead on arrival. That's becoming a common thing. Before anyone reaches the merits, before anyone looks at whether the borrower was right about the money, the borrower reads the one-page reply as stonewalling. The court reads the same exchange and finds that there was no duty to begin with. That's the issue. I think y'all missing that. Your letters from the jump are not even imposing any duty for them to respond. If you have anything dealing with securitization and your notice of errors, your QWRs, your RESPA, dead on arrival. Dead on arrival. Securitization is the simplified version. It's highly more complex, but I give you the simplified version. It's the packaging and pulling illiquid assets and converting them into liquid assets on the secondary market. So instead of a bank waiting 30 years to get paid, they can offload that right to receive payment through a security that they issue to investors and receive cash money up front instead of waiting. So when you make your payments, the principal interest goes to the investors instead of the servicer minus their servicer fee. That's just the streamlined version. That has nothing to do with the servicing on your loan. Right off the gate. Has nothing to do with anything. So once again, remove all securitization from your servicing notice of error RESPA. The problem, how difficult that's going to be, because once again, what you hear online, that's what everybody tells you to do. The issue is about that gap, not about what you should write, about what is actually getting written. What comes back and what the case law says about the difference. So, what actually gets filed? Descriptive, drawn from correspondence across multiple matters. No borrower, servicer, court, or account is identified. Now, the letter, we're going to start with the letter, what it contains, and what comes back from the letter. And this is generated from multitudes of letters and responses people have sent me over the years. Multitudes. So I had to go on my files and comprise all these files. And I saw a common denominator. So what you about to see is the common denominators. The status letter. Please validate this debt. Send me the full accounting. Who owns my loan? 2 paragraphs, no dispute stated. What comes back? A payment history and a copy of the note, or a form letter. No error was asserted, so nothing was investigated. Second, common denominator. The origination letter. What it contains? It challenges the closing, the disclosures, the appraisal, the terms, whether value was given, often the largest category. What comes back? A refusal and a correct one. The server was not there at origination and the statute does not reach it. Third common denominator, the standing letter. The standing letter this is one of the most common ones. Trying to challenge the lender's standing by sending a notice of error, a RESPA, a TILA, or a servicing dispute. Produce the wet ink, the endorsement chain, the custodian, a sworn affidavit from an officer with personal knowledge. What usually comes back is this verbatim. We previously provided you with the note and deed of trust, one sentence, and it disposes of 40 pages. 40, and I can tell why people think that the banks and then lenders, they're conspiring, because you will spend hours on it. 40 pages, 30 pages, and you get met with a one sentence response. I understand how you may feel after that. Another fourth common denominator is the everything letter. It disputes all fees, all charges, all inspections, all advances, all calls as categories, never as figures. 90 sub requests. And what comes back? The common denominator? A duplicate or overbroad determination or silence. No specific error was identified, so no specific error was investigated. And this is the difference with how social this this is how dangerous social media is. They always tell you, or people always pursue claims, disputes, and theories without ever looking at themselves and saying, do they even have to respond to this? Does the statute say they have to respond to a securitization request? These are the basics. You notice how everything I've been covering over the past 2 weeks has solely been the basics. These are the basics, ground level. The capacity letter. What it contains? 4 pages establishing a servicer, the sender as a living being in private capacity, non-domestic, holding property in a private express trust, closes with a commercial fee schedule running to 8 figures. What typically comes back? Nothing at all. Routed to exceptions, scanned into the file, and produced later as an exhibit about the borrower rather than the loan. See, that get used against you in court. And this was comprised of at least 30 QWRs, RESPAs, notice of errors, TILA, etc., and the responses the people gave. Notice what none of these contain. A dollar amount taken from a document the servicer itself produced, stated as wrong. That is the single variable, and it separates the letters that generate a duty from the letters that generate a form reply. You notice how my RESPA, my documents I sent to them, they was blowing their phone up, trying to reach them to get a response. An active investigation has initiated. But when I look at all those other letters, it's basically, this request is duplicative. We already sent you the note and deed. Here's your customer account statement. Here's the transaction report. There you go. And people would look at that like that's not enough. I'll be like, that's all I need. Oh, that's not shit. But now you got to understand, why would that be enough? Because you got to ask yourself, if you was first looking at that and you concluded it wasn't enough, just me saying it's enough, it's not going to get you to see that it's enough. See, this is where understanding in the system comes into play. You can't just understand it now because I said it. There's a reason why I'm saying it. A servicer can decline to explain its records. It has a much harder time explaining why 2 of its own documents generated days apart state different numbers for the same obligation. A very hard time. The one sentence reply decoded, because this has been the normal response to a lot of the pro se, do-it-yourself administrative disputes. This has been the common denominator. It is not uncommon for me to see 30 or 40 pages and a 1-page response that don't even cover half the page. You know what that signals to me? There is no merit in those 40 pages. Trust me, these people are going to take requests seriously when there's a reason for them to take things seriously. Once again, they're going to take things seriously. Thank you for your recent communication. We have reviewed our records and are writing to provide the following update, aka we investigated your claims, made the risk assessment, and determined this is not worth it. We have closed your account and ceased collections. You have no further obligation regarding this account. See, that was in response to my letter. Like I said, there's no ambiguity there. The one sentence reply decoded. The brush off letter is usually read as arrogance. It is better read as a determination, a formal disposition the rules expressly contemplate, and one a servicer is entitled to make when a request is duplicative, overbroad, irrelevant, or seeks confidential or proprietary information, aka securitization, aka the agreements that you have with the investors, the custodian records and numbers, this. Everything that has to do with a securitization that has nothing to do with the servicing of my account. I want you to give that to me now. Good luck. AKA discovery, motion for protective order. AKA 99% of the times is granted, meaning you can't ask them for it unless you already know it's there. You can't ask to produce the accounting unless you already know what the accounting is. You can't ask them to give you anything that you can't already prove in court right now, regardless of whether they give it to you or not. See, that's what they're not going to tell you. Here's the common response. We previously provided you with all the validation documents and are not required to respond to duplicate requests. Is a servicer selecting an exit the regulation left open and the letter walked into? The letter, you walk yourselves right into, right off the fiscal cliff. And this is the dangerous part. Many people don't even realize that they walk themselves off the fiscal cliff day in and day out. They don't even understand that they're doing it. And that is the problem that I see. It's not the problem, well, I didn't know. It's what, damn, you can't fault me for not knowing. This is the problem. When you send anything in, starting with RESPA, you already have to know everything that's going on from A to Z before you send it. There's no learn as you go with this. And this is the problem with court. People think court is learn as you go. Yeah, it is learn as you go. But it's learn as you go when the high stakes ain't on you. Learn as you go. You want to learn as you go when your house on the line? Learn as you go when your vehicle's on the line? So y'all learning as you go, but the learning curves and the learning pains cost you right now with your most valuable possessions. That is a tight spot to be in. So when I say a bare minimum 7 years, people need to tighten their craft on. People look at me like I'm crazy. 7 years? Hell no. But look at the results day in and day out. It proves my 7-year theory correct. That is why the reply never explains itself. It does not have to. And this is why writing back at greater lengths changes nothing. A second letter with the same defects is a second letter the same exit disposes of. And the fact that it repeats the first is now itself an additional ground for setting it aside. And the issue, another issue is pro se litigants, we don't know how these people think. We don't study these people long enough to know how these people operate, to know what their normal response is going to be. We don't really understand the people we're going up against. And that is widespread. We do not understand who we're really up against. That is a problem within itself. Study your opponent, master your opponent's move. That will help you anticipate everything that they're about to do and be able to answer the questions and answer their defenses before they even get a chance to raise it. Medrano versus Flagstar Bank, 9th Circuit, 2012. Y'all, do y'all know that this RESPA TILA violations, you know, this only became a big issue during the 08 mortgage bubble? Every claim dispute that you see online today, it was never claims disputes that were raised en masse until the lawyers started offering these services to clients. And now the teachers online has done nothing but copy what these lawyers did. And many of them lost time and time again and got sanctioned for raising these arguments. This is all what these teachers teach in mortgage today. The same old 2007 to 2012 mortgage securitization, mortgage defense script. It is not uncommon to see requests to a servicer that has everything to do with standing, that is an argument in court, asking them to prove standing in a servicing request. It's not even the right venue for that question. In that case, the court said letters challenging only a loan's validity or its terms are not qualified written requests that give rise to a duty to respond under section 2605E. But these are the letters that I see every single day. Three, the courts have already ruled on this. The courts have already ruled on this. Think about it. See, this is the stuff I already know. If I pull out this RESPA notice of error, if I pull it out and read it word for word right now, you will not see nothing that what you normally see online. It will be 180-degree difference. Oh, newsflash. Loan Depot is so scared of me dissecting their numbers. They didn't even send an account statement for August. I'm sorry, they didn't even send an account statement for August. They said, oh, we're not sending an account statement because we're in litigation. But you sent one in May, you sent one in June, and you sent one in July. Oh, we're not going to send your account statement no more. I wonder why. Are you afraid that I'm going to take every penny and dissect it and find more hidden figures? Who knows? The timing is very interesting, though. These are not close calls or outlier decisions. They are published federal appellate holdings, and they are the reasons a servicer's compliance department can dispose of a 40-page letter in one sentence and be right, because they are reading these cases. They know these cases exist. So if you're sending in these letters and you don't even know that the letters that you're sending in has already been settled in court, and the courts have ruled against the borrower, you are walking yourself off the fiscal cliff without even knowing you're doing it. Medrano versus Flagstar Bank, 9th Circuit, 2012. Holding. Servicing, as defined by the statute, does not include the transactions and circumstances surrounding a loan's origination, aka that is about 60% of your QWR letters, your responses, the stuff that you could just take it right on out the letter. Facts that will be relevant to challenge the validity of an underlying debt or the terms of a loan agreement. Letters challenging only the loan's validity or its terms creates no duty to respond. This is the appellate court. This is higher than the trial level, aka this is controlling case law. This is controlling law. Bernanke City Bank versus Mortgage. Bernanke versus City Mortgage Inc. A servicer may establish a separate and exclusive address for these requests. Receipt as a designated address is necessary to trigger RESPA duties. The borrower's letter failed for that reason alone, not because of what they said. Not even getting the proper address correct. See, these are the things that, once again, these are the little teeny weeny things that it just escapes us. Then it's not surprising why the success rate is so low. The success rate is low because the little things aren't mastered. The little things are oblivious to most. Roth versus City Mortgage Inc. Second Circuit, 2014. Same rule. And a harder fact, employees at the non-designated address actually answer her letters. It made no difference. Failure to send the request to the designated address does not trigger the service's duties under RESPA. They're the teeny little things. Kavanaugh versus Specialized Loan Servicing, 2020, Northern District, Ohio, March 17, 2020. A notice disputing all late fees, charges, inspection fees, property appraisals, forced place insurance charges, legal fees, and corporate advances was overbroad, aka the overbroad terms. Send me the accounting. Send me the advances. See how broad that is? Explain what accounting do you want them to send? The accounting for what? I told you, online, they think they can get away by just using the buzzwords, by using the broad terms. The reason why broad terms are used is because there's no full understanding of the intricate details to really pinpoint and narrow the request. So the broad term replaces the lack of understanding. And it does not trigger the servicer's duties under RESPA. I'm sorry, was overbroad, where a servicer cannot reasonably determine from the notice of error the specific error that the borrower asserts has occurred. There is no duty to respond. Mind you, they responded within 5 days with phone calls and emails. Call us back. Pinpoint accuracy on the error is what's required. Pinpoint accuracy on exactly what the error is. And once again, explain. See, this is the problem is y'all don't even understand that you're already getting everything. Y'all keep writing them back. You already got it. Whether you know what to do with it, that's a different subject. For some people, the response wasn't good enough. Well, for many people, the response wasn't good enough. For very few people, that response is all we need. That's all we need. That is a drastic difference. Now, these are the letters that survive and what they had in common. Morgan vs. Caliber Home Loans, Inc. A written correspondence to a loan servicer provides sufficient information to identify the account and an alleged servicing error, such as such correspondence is a QWR. Letters identifying conflicting balance information satisfied the requirement. The court rejected an overly strict specificity test. Marias versus Chase Home Financing. The first one was 4th Circuit 2022. That's my circuit. Second one, Marias versus Chase Home Finance, 6th Circuit 2013. A letter asking the amount owed, the identity of the current holder, when the holder acquired the loan, when the servicing began, and a breakdown of charges accrued was a valid request. The servicers answered that the information was unavailable or considered proprietary, and its failure to identify the loan's owner violated its duties. Dismissal reversed. Guess what? They give you that information today. See, they learned from the cases where they lost, the servicers or the judgments were dismissed. Now today, they give you all that. They'll tell you it's a Ginnie Mae loan. They'll tell you, they'll give you everything under the statute from these 30 responses that I have in my files from people sending to me. They all gave them everything that was required under the statute. They give you all that information now. Hey, Ginnie Mae owns your loan. Hey, Ginnie Mae this is the pool number. They give it to you. And when they give it to you, we got to stop looking at, look, it don't mean shit. It ain't affecting the underlying obligation. It don't mean nothing. Once again, securitization thinks the underlying debt is over with. Securitization does not affect the original contract. The only way the original contract will ever be affected, the only way, and this is the only way that the original contract is affected.
Don't miss out on this opportunity to litigate like a seasoned professional. Join the Supreme Elite Team University.
Thomas in the lobby, folded thicker than a skyline. Credit acceptance on a resume with stories in the fine lines.
It's the only way. If you see another way where the debt is being invalidated from the jump and they walking away, you tell me, until someone comes out with another similar response from a litigation, similar outcome, then what the hell I'm talking about stands. I've been asking for almost 8 months now, and it's all been lies and justifications and fake results and fake settlements. It's all been lies. It's all been lies. If you have a real settlement, you should have no problem calling the attorney, thanking the attorney for their work and help getting it done. You should have no problem. These self-created, manufactured documents that you only want to show while you're live, but you don't want to post it. Nobody's buying that over here at the New Culture Empire, and my professional lawyers ain't buying it either. They're not buying it either. It's not legit. They can check the records. They can check the files. It don't be adding up when we check it. It don't add up. Stipulation of dismissal where you got to turn around and file another lawsuit. It don't add up. Inaccurate case numbers on the documents. It don't add up. Winfro versus Nation Star LLC, 11th Circuit, 2016. Notice of error triggers present RESPA obligations with respect to past error. Where the servicer failed to refund erroneous charges after notice, she has been cognizably harmed. Dismissal reverse. They have tightened up that today. I'm telling you. I've seen where they refunded them to serve. They're not making those mistakes today. So today, 2026, you got to be ironclad, pinpoint accuracy, 30-6 with a scope. And you have to be 100% correct, not 99%. And your claims and your assertions for these people. They're not taking anything less. Serious. Read the two tables next to each other. The loser letters fail on identification, delivery, and specificity. Three things that have nothing to do with whether the borrower was right. The survivor letters won on one thing. Each one put a concrete servicing figure in front of the servicer. Morgan turned on conflicting balances. Mariah's turned on the amount owed and the breakdown of charges. Winfro turned on a refund that should have been issued and didn't. Not one of them turned on the note, trust, endorsements, or who owns the paper, aka securitization, aka everything you hear online today. The wins don't come from that. The exits are in the rule on purpose. It is tempting to read the decisions as courts siding with the industry. They are better read as courts enforcing a design choice. The error resolution rules were written for a system that receives correspondence at industrial volumes, and they were built with defined outs. A servicer may decline a request that is duplicative, that is overbroad, or unduly burdensome, aka your 75 requests. You actually thought Congress was going to make laws that would completely shut down the secondary market? For every consumer law that was written, there's at least 3 trap doors available for the corporate finance companies. If you don't understand the game that's being played, you're going to miss it at every turn. You're going to be playing the game. You're going to be playing by the rules in which the system is not playing by. And that is the normal pro se mentality. You think the game's played one way, it's played a totally different way. You only find out when you're losing your shit. That seeks confidentiality or proprietary information that is irrelevant or that arrives somewhere other than the address the servicer designated. Those exits exit so that a finite compliance function can spend its 30 business days on requests that actually describe something wrong. The practical consequence is unforgiving and rarely appreciated. A borrower who writes more is often making the servicer's exit easier to justify, not harder. Breadth reads as burden. Repetition reads as duplication. A demand for the note reads as a matter outside of servicing. Every additional page in the wrong direction strengthens the disposition the borrower is trying to avoid. You're handing them the win, and you don't even know that you're doing it.
You're rocking with the best.
Don't even know that you're doing it. You don't even know that you are digging your own ditch by sending these letters in the way y'all be sending. You don't even know you're digging your own ditch. No, you don't even realize you're digging your ditch. From Bernanke versus City Mortgage, 10th Circuit 2013, and Roth versus City Mortgage, 2nd Circuit 2014. Receipt at the designated address is necessary to trigger RESPA duties. And then the 2nd Circuit, even where the servicer's own employees answered the letter sent elsewhere, failure to send the request to the designated address does not trigger the servicer's duties. 3 letters. I picked some of the three top consistent letters. 3 letters, 3 outcomes. 3 real requests, fully de-identified, same statute, same regulation, same kind of servicer. Y'all get this stuff all the time. I get this shit all the time. This is not nothing new. It's not uncommon. It is the normal. It is not uncommon for me to see motions, complaints, to see everything pro se litigants file that is pushing them closer to the fiscal cliff rather than it is the intended results they're looking for. The sad part is they don't even realize they're doing it. Because if they knew that that would be the, outcome, I don't think they would have done it. But the fact that you're doing it and you don't even know that you're doing it, and then you're going into court under false premise, you are fresh meat on a platter to these lawyers. Y'all got to stop thinking these lawyers won't carve your ass up in court. If you got Jeffrey Gamble, I pray to God some of y'all don't have to see him. He is going to carve you inside out, put you on that table, and open you up. The letter A, capacity. What it was. Capacity and standing preamble. 11 errors, each a category rather than an amount. Improper entity identification. Lack of proof of ownership. Securitization. Lack of consideration. MERS. 8 requests for trust instruments, offering documents and sworn affidavits, a commercial fee schedule, and a self-executing lien clause. What came back from that? Nothing. No acknowledgement. No response. No investigation. A regulatory complaint produced no movement. The file now contains a 16-page document about the borrower instead of about the loan. And guess what? Everything in that, I read all 16 pages, is everything they talk about online. Y'all gonna learn either the easy way or the hard way of 99% of the methods to go about online is only good for online. It's never legit for litigation purposes. I don't know whether I don't know. Do you want to just be right online? Or you want to be right in court? I think people just want to be right for online purposes. Because if you want to be right in court, 99% of what you hear out here, you would dump that shit somewhere in a landfill. B, 3 letters, 13-page follow-up. Undated, caption with the originating lender's loan number rather than the servicer's. 39 deficiency items and roughly 90 sub-requests, transaction codes, fee justifications, chain of custody, foreclosure status, mail-in proofs, substantively legitimate. Arithmetically empty. One paragraph. We previously provided all validation documents and are not required to respond to duplicate requests. Enclose a transaction history, a payoff statement that expired before it arrived, and a copy of a default letter with no proof of mailing. See, like shit like that. That's all I need. That's all I need from the first response. That's all I need. That's all. Thank you. I appreciate you. Now, let's go to the ledger. Let me get them figures. What you give me? Give me all your figures. I'm good. I don't need to know about securitization. I don't need to know about custodian records. I don't need to know about custodian agreements. I don't need to know about custodian documents. I don't need to know about who owns it. I don't give a shit about none of that. None of that matters to me. Give me them numbers. That's all I need. That's all I need. The problem is that's not like, this is a foreign concept. What the fuck do you mean by the hidden figures? What you don't know is the hidden figures was years in the making. You see the finished product. What you don't see is the years I spent building this concept from scratch. When you are building things from scratch, it is it's extremely difficult to duplicate. When it's your proprietary thing, nobody can duplicate it. Extremely difficult. C, 3 pages. 3 pages. 7 asserted errors. Every one a specific dollar figure. Each traced to a document the server had itself generated or filed. 11 information items, each tied to a figure already asserted. No preamble, no fee schedule, no standing argument. Which one? Take a wild guess out of A, B, and C. Just take a wild guess whose was number C. Take a wild guess, your wildest imagination.
You're rocking with the best. You're rocking with the best.
Does an irrevocable note require a servicer to prove ownership? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The servicer don't have to prove ownership. That's not even that has nothing to do with their functions. A servicer don't have to prove ownership. Ownership is a legal in court argument. It is not a servicing request. That's something that somebody else has to prove in court. The venue argument is cool. The venue is just off. Many people are trying to commence litigation through RESPA, notice of error, TILA. You're trying to do things that go down in court here, and it just don't work that way. The response, what came back? A written response in about a week from a party that had not answered anything in writing for months, stating it was investigating and asking to talk. C is not longer than B, better cited than B, and more aggressive than B. And it's 3 pages against 16. What it is, and the others are not, is answerable. Every sentence in it can be admitted or denied, and the denial has to come with a number. Set the 3 against the case law on the previous page, and the results stop looking arbitrary. A and B fell exactly where Medrano, Bernanke, Roth, and Kavanaugh say letters fail. C succeeds exactly where Morgan, Marias, and Renfro says letters succeed. Meaning the C is what the courts already agree is legit. The A and B is what the courts already agree that letters fail. Why the ledger is the difference. This is going to revolutionize how consumer litigation is argued. And just because you teachers, you don't understand it, you don't know it, you haven't introduced it to your audience, you haven't introduced it to your clients, you haven't put the work in to build it up over the last several years, doesn't mean it's any less effective. Often imitated, rarely duplicated. You can't duplicate this. This is a proprietary thing that I have. It's proprietary. It is specialized. And I know that teachers, you don't know it because I can hear what you be asking in discovery. You be asking for things that you can't even prove. If they hit you with a motion for protective order and confidentiality and the judge grants it, you're never going to know the answer. Over here, we already know the answer before we ask for discovery. So regardless of whether they give it to us or not, we can still raise the argument because we already know it exists. Now, I need to start studying from the professionals on these little in-between things I just said, those little in-between tactics. I need to start learning from them. instead of looking at professionals like you're so much better than them. It hits hard when you got an ex-Deloitte head examiner, 25 years at one of the big four, and a top government attorney putting eyes on your shit. The confidence hits different. It hits different. Every letter in the winning column had to get its figure from somewhere. There was only one place it came from: the servicer's own account records, the internal transaction history, the borrower-facing activity statement, the periodic and escrow statements, the payoff and reinstatement quotes, and the source of every number the institution will ever assert. The judgment figure is generated from them. This is why the new culture is so important to this space. People don't even start looking to shit until we bring it up. That's called motivating, inspiring. Many people has taken actions for the first time because I introduced it. They've been in these spaces for years and no one's ever said it. When I talk, people take action. In real life. I ain't talking about this buddy system on TikTok. I'm talking about in real life. When I talk, people go watch the videos and they take action. And they come back. Damn, you was right. I called them. Damn, you right. I did this. I was able to do this. Let me guess. Post it. Post a conversation. I already have. All you got to do is look. See, one thing about me, you rarely have to look far. You don't got to look far. You know, with these settlements, these $200,000 settlements and these $2 million settlements, you know how you got to look everywhere to find it? Not with me. You don't. In some spaces, you don't even have to look outside the app. The fee, advances, escrow balance, the amount required to reinstate, all of it is downstream of that record. It is also the document the servicer's own witness reads from the stand. This is what the ledger refers to, and its importance is structural rather than clever. A borrower argued that the amount is offering is an opinion, and a court has no way to weigh one party's opinion against the others. A borrower holding up the servicer's own documents that cannot both be true is not offering opinion at all. The institution has to answer for its own paperwork, and no expert has to be delivered for that to happen. Most borrowers receive these records, see a page of transaction codes and abbreviations, decide the document is unreadable, and file it. It is the most valuable paper in the folder, and it's the paper that is most often ignored. How that record is read is the working method of this practice, and it's not published here. You never know the inside proprietary metrics we use. It's for paying clients only. Now, actually, they just get the output. You'll never know what inputs we use, what actual documents that we use as a reference code, what agreements and documents that we actually have access to. You'll never see it online because I don't really have that much to prove to people. Just know when I come back with the report, the numbers ain't gonna add up. Just know that part. You'll never know exactly how it's done because you'll never know. You can't even look for it. And it's always tailored to that person's specific situation. And each company use their own internal metrics to how they do things. It's not 100% similar. Their internal assumptions is all differs from one company to another. So you can't use the reasoning for this person's and try to apply it to the next. You're going to fuck the client around. And yes, We guard heavily against copycats with the proprietary information. What they call it, it's a secret. What they say online, it's a secret. I know these gurus would love to have that information. It would turn their cases upside down. They'll stop arguing the frivolous things that they argue every day, even though they think is slam dunk arguments. They'll stop arguing it. They'll argue that alone. From the professional side, what a servicing response actually is. Here's the difference in posture that produces the difference in results, stated at the level of principle. The average borrower treats the response as an outcome. The letter went out, an answer came back, and the answer was graded. Did it contain what was wanted or didn't it? If it did, the exchange is over. If it didn't, the borrower writes a longer letter making the same request in stronger language, and the cycle repeats until frustration ends it. Under that approach, the servicer's answers is never actually used. It's only evaluated. This is the most difficult part, and this is the reality. You can't force yourself to see something that you don't understand and see. You can't force it. It's like a person tell you, read this. You can't look at your servicing records and be like, oh, I see now. You can't look at it and be like, oh, here's the evidence is totally separate from the argument. The argument comes under a total different playing field. The argument is going to look different from the evidence. See how tedious it is? It's not just say, okay, I got this now. Now I'm ready to go. No, sorry. This is why I say many people should not be filing nothing on their own accord. And I'm not saying it to deter people. I'm saying it. If you are filing things and if you're filing things and you know for a fact that you don't really know what you're doing, it's a difference between knowing what you're doing, believing that you think you know what you're doing, believing that you think you comprehend the statutes, believing that you think you understand how the courts interpret it, believing that you think, and actually showing through the court's response, through the other side's response. Whether you know what you're doing or not has nothing to do with what you believe it is when you're filing it. Whether you know what you're doing or not, all comes from the response from the other side. All comes from the response of the courts. You can't measure it based on your own confidence. Your measurement is always based on the other side's response, the posture of the case, and the nuance to that. You could be doing things 100% right, and the judge still rules against you. These are the nuances. Court is a very tricky, very vicious battlefield where things change on the fly. Even preserving the record. Sometimes you see how the posture of the court is. You see how the judge moving. Sometimes you just got to shift to, well, let me just get this on the record in case I got to go on appeal. Because appellate courts will not entertain arguments for the first time on appeal. They rarely ever grant new arguments on appeal. See, you got to be looking out for all that. And that's the problem. Pro se litigants are too deeply involved in their own case. They are too deeply involved, so they're missing the little things. Things that matter the most, they are missing because they're too deeply involved. They're looking at the case from a biased, emotional, inside and out approach. We treat the response as an input. A response is not an answer to be graded. It is a new document produced by the same institution on a date, over its own name, describing the same account. That makes it evidence about the account and evidence about the respondent. And it takes its place in the chronological set with everything that came before it. What it says is measured against what the earlier document said. What it declines to say is recorded as precisely what it says. Where a new figure appears, the figure it replaced is the point of interest. The reply that reads like a brush off is, on this view, one more admission that had to be produced under a deadline. And the fastest way to get a fresh one is to have asked something that could only be answered with a number. That is the whole of the professional posture. And it is why a 3-page letter outperforms a 16-page one. 3 pages. So we took. So all it took 3 pages. Ain't no 16-page conservatizing. 3 pages got the job done. You ever heard the old saying, less is more? Less is always more. You gotta ask yourself, what is my intent? Like, you gotta, not for real, you gotta sit down and ask yourself, do you know how to produce VR jury instructions? Do you know how to respond to different motions timely? Do you know how to accurately request discovery and what to look for? Do you understand the rules discovering discoveries, govern discoveries, depositions? Yeah. You know how to plead special matters? Do you even know the rules that govern it? Did you take time to read case law, govern certain rules? You see all these little itty bitty little things? These are the things that we have to know. These are the things that lawyers, licensed attorneys, these are the things that they have to know. These are the things that they go to school for. These are the little things that they go to school to point out. So if you're pro se, you are already behind the 8 ball because you don't have the years in the schooling and the experience. That's the reality. Just because someone says they've been doing court for a long time, that does not mean they understand how court is or know how to navigate through it today. We just watched the video where dude said, I've been doing court for a long time, been filing lawsuits, and he didn't even read the room in court. And he lost, and he got sanctioned. Oh, I've been doing court for a long time. Still, all these, I've been doing court for a long time. Gurus online, they always getting hit with a Rule 11 sanction. I've been doing court for this. I know court that. Court. Where this method normally lives, none of this is invented. It is ordinary practice in 3 settings and unusual in a 4th. Financial statement audit, tying a subsidiary ledger to the general ledger, chasing a balance to its supporting documentation, and testing whether a stated figure can be rebuilt from its components. An unreconciled difference is not an argument. It is a finding. Institutional examination and internal loan review. This is where the ledger normally is conducted at. Testing whether an account's stated balance, fees, and advances are supported by the institution's own authorizations and the disbursements records. The same question asked by a regulator or an internal reviewer rather than by a borrower. Commercial litigation and forensic accounting. Accountants, damages studies and experts' reconciliations, where the number cannot be rebuilt from the producing party's own record, is a routine and effective finding. In professional settings, the ledger is a finding for them. This is evidence for them. 4, consumer foreclosure defense, where it is almost never used. The overwhelming majority of these disputes are litigated as documents and standing cases. The accounting is treated as background rather than as the case. The gap is not a secret and it is not a trick. It is simply an available discipline that the market has not applied here. Accounting discipline. These teachers don't understand the concept of it. Now, you don't be around real certified accountants in real life. Now, you don't pick their brain. You don't pick from the professionals and how they do it. Now, you don't know how to read a balance sheet. Now, you don't know how to read a financial statement of position. Now, you don't know how to do all that. Now, you never had classes on solely this is how you read and decode a balance sheet. Now, you didn't find 95 million to 250 million in unpaid taxes from misclassifications of items of income, and then hit them with the own IRS rules and regulations and case law that supports these findings. Now, you ain't send a whistleblower report, so I'm saying, hey, if this was a tax issue, I'd be on the hook for damn near 250 million. You sure you don't want to settle? Nah, they didn't include in the clause. You can't file no whistleblower reports or nothing with the IRS. They didn't include that. Yeah, we settled, but you can't file none of that shit. Nah, they ain't do that. A caution about damages, because it is the second most common misunderstanding after the letter itself. A servicing violation is not a payday. That is the part that I think is going to sting. A servicer violation is not a payday. I know everything in court is a payday for y'all. For a lot of people. Consumer violations, payday. Passive income. How they market it? Passive income. The Seventh Circuit put it as directly as it could be put. RESPA does not provide relief for mere procedural violations. Plaintiffs bringing claims under RESPA must show actual injury. That kills the narrative. Do you think many people be filing as much lawsuits if they would as they do if they knew from the jump that it doesn't result in a debt elimination or a payday? The answer is no. The same court rejected the fees as a borrower incurred reviewing the servicer's deficient response, refusing to let a plaintiff create a RESPA claim that pulls itself up by its own bootstraps. Moore versus Wells Fargo Bank, 7th Circuit, 2018. Compare what didn't work. In Renfro, the harm was concrete and traceable. A refund of erroneous charges that should have issued after the notice and did not. That is the shape a survivable claim takes. A specific fund, sum, tied to a specific failure, followed by a specific notice. The vault of a well-built notice of error is usually not the statutory claim at all. It is the dated written admissions it forces into the file before anyone is under oath. Court is a fucking art. It is an art to court. It is an art. It's like you got a blank canvas and you're pasting the canvas. You're painting the canvas. You are painting it with the most beautiful picture for the court to read. The other side They're painting their canvas. And y'all turn your canvases over, and then the judge views which picture looks the best. That's pretty much it there in majority of the cases. In mortgages, you're not getting a free house for technical procedural violations. The sooner we accept it, the sooner we can focus on real valuable claims. The bottom line, set everything in this issue aside, side by side, and it reduces to one sentence. The borrowers who lose these exchanges lose on the threshold, and the borrower who wins are the ones who put a number in front of the institution that it has to answer for. Nothing in the case law rewards volume. Nothing in it rewards indignation. A 16-page letter and a 3-page letter are graded on the same 4 questions a compliance associate asks in the first 90 seconds. How can I match this to an account? Did it come to the right place? Can I tell what specific thing is being called wrong? And is that thing something I service? A letter that answers all 4 creates an obligation. A letter that misses any one of them creates a foul note. And from my experience, these servicing letters misses all 4. The unglamorous truth is that most of what separates the two lives in the account records the borrower already has, and in a discipline that every auditor and examiner in the country applies as a matter of routine, not just historically here. The account discipline to see the numbers, see through the numbers, pinpoint the numbers, pinpoint the source of the number, break down the numbers, look beyond the numbers, see beyond first base, look around the corner. People who do that, very good. They're trained to do that. It's not something you just pick up. You are trained to do it. Deliberately absent from this issue, the source map. Which agreements, files and programs, documents, the underlying figures are traced to. Of course, I left that out. That is proprietary. That is the source of the ledger. The reconciliation sequence in the arithmetic that produces an unexplained residual. The test run against a servicing platform ledger and its code set and any specimen request or demand language. You see how one person would look at their activity customer statement and not know what the hell to do with it, while another person look at it and it has all the information needed to produce a ledger. That is what I'm trying to get you to see. This is not something that you can just casually take and apply. There is certain things that are going on after closing that severely affects the hidden figures. For the actual source, I was lucky enough to be connected to people who actually could identify those sources and actually had copies of those sources. I was just only able to get a file. I got the file. And when transposed against all these companies, they all have that same similar version. This is why it's not uncommon to have charges charged to your account that are not authorized by the note. The problem is that is proprietary confidential information. So they're not required to file it in court, give it to you when you make a broad request for anything related to it. You're not going to get it. It's not even filed publicly. That's the whole thing. It's not filed publicly. It's the only way I was able to get it, because I knew someone that worked in the higher places, was able to get it. It's the only way. I'm just like anybody else. I couldn't have got it. But that is the key source of how I attack the numbers. Those are the working method. Publishing them hands them to the other side of matters currently in progress. What is published here is the diagnosis, which is free and which most readers will still not act on. Stop asking a servicer to explain its records and start showing it its own numbers. And even then, a lot of the even with that, it's just a matter of understanding what you're doing. Everything can't be laid out in black and white for you. A lot of things is, some things are just, you ever notice how you got buddies who work in certain fields and they get access to proprietary information and they may share it with their best friend or two, and it kind of stays there. And they know that this is something that a lot of people could benefit from, but it stays there. It's kind of one of those things. It kind of just got to stay where it's at. It could be implemented in its system, but you can't expect me to ever disclose that file. Number one, I would never do it. Number two, it's a trust thing. Number three, I would think it's just unfair to try to put that burden on me to do it when y'all ain't been hounding Fannie Mae, Guinea Mae. Y'all ain't been writing to their officers and telling them to give it to you, because you know they won't give it to you. It's just the reality of the situation. I don't know how else to say it. It's just the reality. The top level documents, if they represent their content in a professional manner, that will cause the professionals to want to, rub elbows with them. You'd be surprised what people who are friends with professionals, the information that they'll share with them. But since these gurus online have a boogeyman approach, that they're the boogeyman, they don't want to network with them. I didn't do anything spectacular. I just network with them. A person came to my group that were friends with all these top level people, and through our friendship, I was able to gain access through them. That's why it's not uncommon to have an ex-SEC attorney review one of my briefs before I send it out to be filed. It's not uncommon. It's not uncommon for him to send me 7 pages of his discovery when he was at the SEC to incorporate in my findings and my discovery request. It's not uncommon. But y'all run the professionals away with your online assertions. That's why y'all don't get to higher stages in this. And this is why I stick at the community level, and only seeing things from your scope. But when you network with people who've been doing this longer, you can see the field from a broader view. Or you can understand what you can see all the pieces. You could be in the, the offensive coordinator in the press box. They could see the whole field. They could see what's going on. You can see what's going on. You can see more. But when you're down in it, it's hard for you to see what's going on. This is why the top stays at the top and we stay where we're at, because they have inside knowledge that they know we don't have. We got to try to break through it and get through it, but they have the cheat code. I knew that going in. So my angle was, how can I get as closest to their cheat codes as I can? Strip it away at a time. Because I know that I wouldn't even been successful on my own if I didn't have certain information that I knew that they had. Instead of causing a risk and putting my whole operations at jeopardy, instead of exposing, here's the cheat code, I got you, I take the elements and I take the shit from within it and implement it in the findings that puts them in a tight spot without me ever having to reference it or get to it. That protects the confidence and the trust that they had in me. And it also provides an extra layer. So yes, I do have the cheat code. But it's not used in a manner where I say, here you go, here. It's always implemented and it's done in a strategic manner. The fuck I look like telling my client to file this agreement that it's not even filed with the SEC. They're going to be like, well, how the hell you get it? And they're going to cause themselves to get it stricken from the record. You're not even supposed to have that. As a matter of fact, that could jeopardize their whole case. See, many teachers will be like, look, y'all, look what we got, y'all. Look, let's have a live on it. Let's have a live. You understand secrecy. That's why they don't get far, because they got diarrhea at the mouth. There's some things that I know that it would never be made public. I would never tell you that I know it. Trust me, everything that's being said public is because I want you to know it. If I don't want you to know it, you're not going to know it exists. And that's how the game goes. And when your gurus start to advance in those levels, they'll understand exactly what I'm saying. I know things I go behind with the investors and Fannie Mae that I won't come in here and tell you, because that was a private conversation between me and my friend who is a senior analyst supervisor for them. So I know what goes on behind the scenes. I won't come in here and try to make myself be, oh, look at that. Look what I know. Look at this. See, look, he told me this. He told me that. And whatever you hear is because I want you to know. If I don't want you to know, you're never going to know. Facts. And he does exist. Key Bank. Plaintiff Linda Carey as execute tricks of the estate of Ronald B. Carey. So this looks like a real executrix, not one of these executrix over you. Now here we go. Plaintiff seeks declaratory relief against defendant Key Bank, Gross Polowy LLC, and good God Almighty, Moran Karamusis, I'm going to say Moran, regarding real property located in Buffalo, New York. Now, we're not going to get to the actual facts of the case. Let's just scroll down to procedural history. All right. On July 3rd, 2022, plaintiff filed a complaint. On September 2023, plaintiff filed an amended complaint. See, once again, right from the jump. In July, they filed the first complaint. In September, they filed the second amendment complaint. That's the problem right there. That's the original problem there. That's the original problem. Why is that a problem? Because you only see that in pro se spaces. You don't see that with lawyers. And these law firms got to file second amendment complaints. You don't see that in mass. That's the problem. Get it right the first time. It's the problem. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. Second amendment complaint, third, it's not good enough. Get it right the first time. It's not good enough. Y'all keep wanting to have a low standard for yourselves, but you want the most extraordinary outcomes. Well, you need to present yourself for the first time for the extraordinary outcomes you see. Y'all be wanting extraordinary outcomes, and the claims don't even be legal. Don't even be valid. They be meritless as hell. No, the gloves come off in court. If you don't know how to live in that terrain, know how to exist in that environment, stay the fuck away from it. Pay your fucking bills on time. People not playing with y'all. Y'all keep thinking everybody running around here playing. Thinking, oh, because you're on social media, that reflects everyday real life. For every fucking, oh, we got a consumer claim win. We got a settlement check for the FDCPA. There's 5,000 people that lost. Not playing. A fucking record is very, and anybody can valid look at the record. FDCPA claims, docket sheets. They, as much as all these goddamn books floating around on Amazon, much already got these goddamn books. Bad credit into cash. Turn your credit dispute into money. Man, there's 5,000 books online. All saying the same shit. All promising passive income through disputes. It's all saying the same shit. All these fucking, go on Amazon right now. Go on TikTok shop. It's 5,000 books. Get your credit here. Your credit report here. Get your credit here. Your credit here. Your credit. You want to get your credit? Well, tell the members why the fuck these books ain't producing this. Credit score increased by 126 points. Huh? Increased by 146 points last 3 months. Hell, in June alone, 60 points. Where the fuck is the results from these goddamn books? You can do all the talking, fake ass character assassination all you want. I'm showing real life results. Exactly. Because it's all scams. It's BS. It's the fucking multi-pyramid scheme. I put a credit repair book out there. Hey, Johnny, you buy my book. Hey, if you get somebody else to buy it, you get a commission too. It's the same shit for all of them. This is why you'll see 15 different people selling the same damn book. Fuck out of here. The fuck out of here. And I'm not knocking the books themselves. I'm not knocking the books. It's not what I'm knocking. I'm knocking the fact that they're promising something that's not guaranteed. I'm knocking the fact that where all the students with the testimonies, with the credit scores jumping up 100-something points. It took me 60 days. 60 days. And every time I sent the letter in to the TransUnion Equifax Experian, they acted inside of 10 days. Every single time. Credit score went up, what? It was like 59 points just because they changed the remarks. Investigation reissue is reinvestigate. Bam. I said, damn. So if I'm not even a credit repair teacher, The books should be fucking producing that on a daily. That's what I be saying. Y'all be falling for. That's what, listen, y'all be falling for anything online. All it takes is for you to like them, agree with them, knowing damn well you're not going to defend that shit when the ABC boys come. Y'all be looking at, y'all be playing the wrong game. So I be running circles around y'all. Y'all be getting circles ran around y'all. Yeah, that's why y'all can't last against these top professional court. Y'all, they'll run circles around y'all. Y'all don't use foresight. Y'all don't really see the reality for what it is. You see a narrative, you hang on to the narrative, you defend the narrative. Well, I look at reality, see the reality, defend reality, because reality gets the job done. That's why y'all don't want to win. You ain't talking about you want to win. Y'all don't want to win. Y'all want to be right. Be right, spin a narrative. That's it. That's it. Talking this big boy, big 200,000, big money. I actually showed a real receipt. Well, I dropped 6 figures at one time. I went over my, gave y'all, what, 2 days ago? I let y'all into my life. Right on live. Like I said, I don't need to fucking come online and fake, because I have a real life outside of here. Most people's lives is consumed to here, have no motion in real life. You never see them posting pictures what they doing outside of this space. You never see them out and about, what they doing. You never see it. You never fucking see it. So he filed an amended complaint including 8 counts: declaratory relief against Key Bank, breach of instruments against Key Branch, breach of fiduciary duty against Key Branch, fraud against Key Branch, violation of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act against Gross Polowee and Mormon, violation of the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Acts against Key Bank, violation of the Truth in Lending Acts against Key Bank, conspiracy against all defendants. All this shit failed without even reading the case. Want to know why? Because it's the same arguments you'll see that they tell you to make online. This is nothing more than a social media emotional complaint. This is, I can tell from the beginning. On October 4, 2023, Key Bank filed a Rule 12b6 motion to dismiss. What do I always tell you? You load up on all these allegations and complaints. Instead of the other side responding to the complaint, they move to dismiss the complaint. That is the normal occurrence. You file a complaint as pro se, you get responded with a motion to dismiss. That's it. August 30th, defendant Key Bank filed a motion to dismiss. On October 30th, 2023, Key Bank moved for leave to supplement this motion to dismiss. December 19th, 2023, plaintiffs filed 2 motions requesting additional time to respond to defendant's motion to dismiss. Also on December 19th, the court granted Key Bank's and plaintiffs' motions. The court extended plaintiffs' deadline to respond to the motion to dismiss to January 7th. Key Bank filed a supplemental motion to dismiss on January 2nd. On January 8th, plaintiffs filed an unopposed motion to alter the court's December 19th order, extending plaintiffs' deadline to respond to the motions. On January 9th, 2024, the court extended plaintiffs' deadline to respond to February 2nd, 2024. On January 28th, 2024, plaintiffs filed a motion to reconsider, alter, or amend the court's January 9th, 2024 order. In this motion, plaintiff requested relief under Federal Rules Civil Procedure 59 and 60 based on Key Bank's unexpected demand to proceed with foreclosure. Specifically, plaintiffs requested the court memorialize and enforce the settlement, including enjoining foreclosure through the All Writs Act and Anti-Injunction Act and all other just and proper relief as joinder of other parties to this action is needed. On January 29, 2024, the court denied the motions because plaintiff failed to show they were entitled to the requested relief. Once again, a simple, God damn it, man. This shit gets fucking nauseating. It's not uncommon to see pro se litigants file motions for relief without even establishing that they're entitled to relief. If they don't even establish their entitlement to the relief, these are the little things. February 2nd, 2024, plaintiffs filed a motion to transfer to the Western District of New York. Plaintiffs did not file any opposition to defendant's motion to dismiss. On February 16, 2024, defendants filed opposition to plaintiff's motion to transfer. We're already going to get that. All right, so legal standard for motion to dismiss. When addressing a motion to dismiss under Rule 12b-6, the court must construe the complaint in light most favorable to the plaintiff and accept a well-pleaded material allegations in the complaint as true. The sufficiency of the complaint is tested against the notice pleading requirement that a complaint must contain a short and plain statement of the claim showing that the pleader is entitled to relief. Once again, these are the little things. Rule 12b-6, the complaint, the sufficiency test is going to be tested against Rule 8a, the short and plain statement showing entitlement to relief. The courts are always going to look at, never mind. Now I know what I'm talking about. Go ahead and leave the chat. Yeah. Go ahead and leave because they don't like what I'm saying. Go ahead and fucking leave. Go ahead. I don't know what I'm saying. See, these are all the things that if I was filing the complaint, these are all the things I would know. These would be all these grounds would have been covered. Nope. Not in these spaces. You got to learn through denials and motions to dismiss. That's how you learn. Rule 8a requires plaintiff to allege facts providing only fair notice of the nature of the claim, but also grounds to which the claims rest. That's the problem. When you transfer or convert these social media administrative claim topics into a legal brief, you don't have any grounds to which the claims rest. Just because you believe it's true online doesn't mean you actually have grounds to support it in court. That's what I mean. People just want to be right. Oh, I got my clients for it. Shut the fuck up. Just shut up. They ain't shit on your. Shut up. I got my. Shut up. Hey, I hit the lottery for $50 million last night. What makes your statement more truer than mine? I can assert anything. I got my clients foreclosure dismissed, and I hit the lottery for $50 million last night. Who's lying? Who's lying? How are you measuring what's true or not? Based on belief or facts? Actual black and white evidence or not? And the complaint's factual allegations taken as true must be enough to raise the right to belief above the speculative level. That means the complaint must allege facts supporting an inference that the defendant's liability is plausible rather than possible. As such, the court will not permit threadbare recitals of the elements of a cause of action supported by mere conclusory statements, aka the normal pro se pleading in this space. Threadbare recitals of the elements of the cause of action and conclusory statements, aka making legal conclusions. If I had $1 for every time I saw a legal conclusion, I'd be fucking rich. I'd be rich. I'd be rich. I'd be rich. If every time I had $1 for I seen a legal conclusion in a pro se complaint, I'd be rich. Now, I swear to God, I'll be a millionaire. When a court is presented with a Rule 12b-6 motion, it may only consider material related to the pleadings. Documents are considered related to the pleadings if they are attached to either the complaint or the defendant's motion to dismiss, referred to in the complaint, and central to the plaintiff's claims. A court has complete discretion to determine whether or not to accept any material beyond the pleadings that is offered in conjunction with a Rule 12b-6 motion. Analysis. The court may interpret the absence of a response to a motion to dismiss as a waiver of opposition. God Almighty. Nonetheless, the court will assess whether plaintiff's complaint failed. So basically, since they didn't respond directly, they really waived it. But since they're pro se, the court is still going to assess whether plaintiff's complaint fails to state a claim under Rule 12b-6. See, if that was another attorney there, the case would have been dismissed right there. But since they're pro se, they're going to get a little leeway. Plaintiff's complaint brings 7 claims against Key Bank. Key Bank argues that the entire complaint is barred by claims preclusion. Claim preclusion requires that a final judgment on the merits bars further claims by parties or their privies based on the same cause of action. Under the full faith and credit statute, not money. Full faith and credit, not money. It's like when you take your birth certificates to the State Department and they slap that full faith and credit stamp. I know they told you that meant money, but basically it meant, hey, this is a legit document. This was a real person that was born. And we're stamping it under our full faith and credit, meaning that you can accept this as true because we say it's true. That's what full faith and credit. So when they were taking their birth certificates to get it authenticated, that's what it meant. It didn't mean full faith and credit as in money. Ask anybody that got their birth certificate authenticated and what came from it. I guarantee you, if they're honest, they're going to say nothing. It was just another part of what people told us to do. You know what burns people up about me? Because a lot of them know they don't have the direct evidence that I attacked to be like, I was able to get this. Under the full faith and credit statute, a federal court must afford a state court judgment the same preclusive effect that the judgment would have in state court. I thought the federal courts is supposed to override state courts. I thought state courts was ain't. I thought state courts ain't have no validity when it comes to federal courts. I thought the federal courts would trump the state courts in every little thing. Do I need to read it again? Under the full faith and credit statute, a federal court must afford a state court judgment the same preclusive effect that the judgment would have in state court. Wow. So new culture, you may be on to something that federal courts just don't unilaterally overturn state courts because federal courts are courts of limited jurisdiction. You may be on to something. All these goddamn people saying that, you may be right about them. In order to determine what preclusive effect a judgment will have in state court, the court must apply the law of the state in which the prior judgment was rendered. You better stop reading right now, new culture. You mean the federal courts is looking to state law to make their decision instead of just going to the federal law? You mean that's all they look at? What? I thought federal law trumps state law. Damn. Here, the court must apply New York law. What do you mean? The court must apply New York law, new culture. I thought federal law. They're in federal court. They took the case to federal court, so the federal court's law applied. Why is the federal court looking at New York law? Why is the federal court looking at state law? What case am I reading? A case where a borrower got scalped I'll tell you in a second. 7. Hold on. Linda Carey as executrix of the estate of Ronald B. Carey versus Key Bank, July 26, 2024. To establish claim preclusion, a party must show a final judgment on the merits, identity or privity of parties, and identity of claims in the two actions. Key Bank argues that all three elements are presented here because the New York foreclosure judgment is a final decision on the merits, and the foreclosure involved the same parties or their privies with Key Bank as the plaintiff and plaintiffs as defendants. And this action involves claims that were or could have been asserted in the foreclosure. So remember when they tell you to run to federal court every time you don't like a state court ruling? Remember? Remember that? They always say run to federal court when you don't like a state court, because federal courts can override state courts. Yeah. Yep. That sound about right. Don't you? Hey, ain't that the thing? Run to federal court every time you don't like a state court. Ask Equal Footing how that's been working out for him. He's on his 8th amended complaint. Ask him how's that been working out for him. Thinking you're gonna run to the federal courts to overturn the state court just because you don't like a state court's order. Ask him to show the dockets from every time he did that. Ask him to show the dockets. Plaintiff's declaratory judgment claim is premised on Key Bank's enforcement of a due on sale mortgage clause and alleged violations of the Truth in Lending Act. Plaintiff requests the court to declare and establish that they are successors to Ronald Carey under the loan under a valid assumption relating back to his death, to address, prevent, and end Key's ongoing illegal dispute of assumption. Key Bank argues that this claim should be dismissed for 3 reasons. Key Bank did not enforce a due on sale clause, TILA's protections do not apply to Mark Carey, and declaratory relief is not an appropriate means to address past conduct. This is normal procedural vehicle and proper procedural vehicles to address your claims. But never mind. For the due on sale clause, Key Bank argues that both the factual allegations in the amended complaint and the foreclosure complaint show that Key Bank foreclosed because Ronald B. Carey failed to comply with the conditions of the note and mortgage by not making the payment that was due on February 1st, 2019 and subsequent payment. Once again, that is the focal point right there. And I've been saying it. What is your defense when the judge stops all your securitization arguments, stops all these frivolous claims and say, did you not pay on the note? Yes or no? What is your legal defense for not paying? And this is the spot where social media teachers have no answer. Well, prove what capacity is so. Hey, do you have the note? Hey, prove this. All those 2007 through 2013 securitization arguments is not protecting you anymore. What is your legal reason for not paying? Go ahead. Put it in the chat. What's your legal reason for not paying? And please do not let me hear an answer that they've been raising for years that's already been settled, because I'll be able to spot it as soon as I see it. There's at least 30 of them that's already been foreclosed. So Think before you answer. Or if you don't know the answer, you don't have one, just put a 1. Or if you just, you know, whatever. Key Bank asserts that it did not attempt to foreclose or otherwise declare a default because the property was allegedly transferred to Mark. Key Bank argues that Mark Carey did not assume the loan and the successor and interest regulations were not in effect when Ronald Carey died. Under TILA, assumption of a loan requires written approval from the lender. Key Bank asserts that plaintiff's complaint does not allege that Key Bank expressly agreed in writing that Mark could assume the loan. See, these are all the little things that I at least would have asked them. Do you have that in written agreement that you was going to assume the loan? Or you assuming that you can assume the loan? There's a whole different process for a loan assumption. Want to know how I know? Because my mom just went through one. My mom and dad just went through one. It's a totally different process. This is what I be meaning.
Nobody.
The lack of knowledge and understanding is what kills people every day online. What kills the ones the most is the ones that think that they know. Those are the ones who really get it. Those are the ones who are the most dangerous. The ones who think they know, but they really don't know. So now, instead of being 100% transparent, they got to spin a narrative, which causes them to lie, fabricate, make up, extend, lie by omission. This is your normal, average, everyday teachers online, because they teach off narrative more than reality and facts and what's already been settled law. If they actually did the research on the case laws on the same claims that they're teaching people, they probably would still raise it regardless. But this is the problem why the success rate is less than 3%. But everybody's a fucking winner online, right? Everybody's a winner online. Everybody just win. It's good enough that all you got to do is say you won, and that's good enough. Create a fake stipulation of dismissal. Create a fake settlement check. Create a fake man. You know, but you could create that fake shit today. You know it's fake when they only want to show you when they live and hold it up to the camera, but they don't want to post it. That's how you know it's fake. You don't think these gurus been doing this shit for 10, 15 years? They'll hold the paper up to the live just so they can have someone to say, yeah, I seen it, but never post it. Right. Next, Key Bank argues that the purpose of declaratory judgment is to provide a mechanism by which parties can eliminate uncertainty regarding their legal rights and obligations quickly and conclusively. Here, plaintiff's declaratory judgment claim is premised on Key Bank's past actions, not any future uncertainty. You see, they're scalping the plaintiffs just off the normal procedure. And this is another thing from the plaintiffs. This is a misinterpretation of what they're reading, which is something that affects 98% of people in these spaces. The average person is going to misinterpret what they think they read. One classic example is Title 12, USC, Section 412. People had whole webinars on a misinterpretation. On a misinterpretation. See how dangerous this space is? Accordingly, Key Bank argues that plaintiff's claim for declaratory judgment should be dismissed because declaratory relief is not an appropriate means to address past conduct. Looking at plaintiff's allegations, the foreclosure did not enforce a due-on-sale clause, but rather address Ronald Carey's failure to comply with the conditions of the note and mortgage by not making the payment that was due on February 1st, 2019, and subsequent payments. For their TILA claims, plaintiffs have not alleged why the court should find that Key Bank's silence constituted tacit approval of Mark Carey's as the accessor of the loan. Likewise, plaintiffs have not alleged why the court should retroactively apply TILA's regulations to Mark Carey's alleged assumption of the loan. Lastly, plaintiff has not pleaded why the appropriate remedy for enforcement of a due on sale clause in violation of TILA is declaratory judgment. And the court just citing case after case after case. Breach of instruments. It goes without saying that they didn't state a claim for the declaratory relief. That goes without saying. Count 2 alleges that Key Bank breached the loan. You know what? Forget the assumption. Let's get to the fiduciary duty. I want to tackle things that you normally hear online. Fiduciary duty. Ladies and gentlemen, when you enter into a mortgage agreement, credit card agreement, retail auto installment contract, the agreement and the assumptions and the normal understanding of the agreement is a debtor-creditor relationship. You didn't enter into a valid investment agreement with them, and they acted as your broker, which would create a fidelity and fiduciary duty. You didn't go to them as an advisor. You didn't go to them as your broker. It is a debtor-creditor relationship. Stop acting like it's not. It was a debtor-creditor relationship when you was, once upon a time, when you was paying on it. You didn't allege no fiduciary duty then. So don't try to allege it now. Told you. And this is why it's so easy for me, because the real intent is a lot of people just trying to get around not paying. I know that. But that makes it so actually funny is because they try to tell themselves there's something more than that. Count 3 alleges that Key Bank breaches fiduciary duty to plaintiffs by baselessly disputing and rejecting the assumption, which Niagara ratified and which Key did as well, which it later disregarded in its own self-interest to foreclose and resell the property for its profit. Key Bank argues that under Ohio law, oh my gosh, hear it now and hear it proud. Key Bank argues that under Ohio law, a debtor-creditor relationship does not give rise to a fiduciary relationship. Well, what do you have it? Anybody? Well, hey, hold on. Go. Stop. Close your eyes and think of all the times you heard people say breach of fiduciary duty. You know what that is? It's a dead on arrival argument. So as soon as you raise the argument, put it on the paper, you've already lost the argument. And that's what I mean. That's what I talk about. Arguments that as soon as they put it on paper, they've already lost it. They're just going through the motions. Accordingly, this claim fails as a matter of law because Key Bank, as Ronald Carey's creditor, did not owe Ronald Carey any fiduciary duties. To establish a breach of fiduciary duty, a plaintiff must plausibly allege the existence of a duty arising from a fiduciary relationship. Stop right there. All my fiduciary duty people, where is the fiduciary relationship? Where's the duty? To do what? And this is what I mean. Social media, they tell you to raise the arguments that sound good, that you think is going to help you keep your house or stop the foreclosure. But when they put the legal lens under it, now explain it under the law. They have nothing to say. They don't know, so they just make up shit. And these are, and you call this court. And they call this court. I don't give a shit because AI told you, AI agreed with you, because AI told you in the fiduciary duty. We already went through last night on how AI is getting people stuck in the can. Both professional lawyers and pro se. Explain your fiduciary duty. And just because it's something that you probably paid for, that you brought into, doesn't mean you can get mad at me. Because this is what case law is saying right here. 2, a failure to observe the duty. And 3, an injury resulting proximately therefrom. Plaintiffs allege that a fiduciary duty existed between plaintiffs and Key, in who they reposed a special trust and confidence based on Key's initial written assurances that it would recognize the assumption, as did Niagara, which Key had ratified by its course of conduct. Now, you know what that's called? That's called a legal conclusion, something that the courts hate. Their whole reasoning is considered a legal conclusion. This conclusory statement does not demonstrate that a duty arising from a fiduciary relationship existed. Plaintiffs had not plausibly stated a claim for breach of fiduciary duty against Key. Here goes another one that you hear online every day. Fraud. Uh-oh. That's the big one online. Fraud. Without ever satisfying the who, what, when, where, and how in the particular standards under Rule 9B. Nope. That's not in mind when people say the word fraud. They're not worrying about the heightened pleading standards, how the judge is going to scrutinize your complaint even more. And they're going to look for the who, what, when, where, and how. And knowing that if you don't satisfy the heightened pleading standards under Rule 9B because you just pled a special matter, your whole complaint could be dismissed. No. That's not what they have in mind when they think fraud. It just sounds good to stop the foreclosure and keep the house. That's why they use the word fraud. Count 4 alleges that Key Bank misrepresented material facts to plaintiffs. Namely, they would be recognized as Ronald Carey's successor under the loan per the assumption. Plaintiffs allege that Key Bank knew these statements were false and never intended to recognize plaintiffs as successors. According to plaintiffs, Key Bank made these misrepresentations to induce plaintiffs to rely upon them and not otherwise seek legal alternatives to enforce the assumption. Key Bank highlights the Federal Rules Civil Procedure Rule 9B. There you go. Nah, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. No, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
You're rocking with the best.
Nah, I don't know what I'm talking about. Nah. No. The other side's attorney is not going to cite the same rule that I just said. No. The new coach don't interpret. He didn't interpret Rule 9B correctly. Nah, I know he didn't. Just go ahead and continue to argue fraud. That's what you do. Go ahead and argue it. Yep. And just send me a DM. Let me know how the case went. Which we know that's not going to happen, but still. Key Bank highlights the Federal Rules Civil Procedure Rule 9B. Creates a heightened pleading requirement for fraud claims. Oh no, new coach, you ain't just say that, did you? You ain't just say that. You ain't just say that, did you? Ain't naming nothing. Ain't naming specifics. Ain't naming nothing. Been late on some payments. Yep. TILA, late payments. Every time you're late, when these arguments go about, you notice you don't never see these claims when they're current and life is good. You know, is that right? When have you ever seen complaints when people are not even behind on their mortgage? Do you ever really see it like that online? Do you really ever see it? Nope. Because online, this is the place to come when you're down in the dirt. When you're not, you don't give a shit about none of this. Yep. Key Bank argues that plaintiff has not met this requirement because the complaint does not allege any facts to support the blanket assertion that Key Bank's misrepresented material facts to plaintiff. Key Bank highlights that the complaint does not include the allegations for specific parties or participants who made these alleged representations, nor the time or place these misrepresentations took place. Let me translate that for you. The who, the specific parties or participants who made these representations, nor the time, who, what, when, so that's the when, nor the time, when or place, where, huh? Who, what, when, where, how. That's what every court is going to analyze it. Who, what, when, where, how. Now that you can take on face value. And if you think I'm wrong, just look at all the other fraud claims that they raise. What else do you have to lose? By taking what I just said on Facebook. What else do you have to lose? You've been losing on your fraud claims forever anyway. What do you have to lose? Nothing. You already been getting spanked on these claims anyway. You might as well look at the who, what, when, where, how. Ain't shit else been working. Key Bank highlights that, okay, get that. Federal Rule Civil Procedure 9B requires a party state with particularity the circumstances constituting the fraud or mistake. To establish a claim of fraudulent misrepresentation, a plaintiff must plausibly allege a representation or, when a duty to disclose exists, concealment of a fact, 2, material to the transaction at hand, made falsely, with knowledge of its falsity, or with such utter disregard and recklessness as to whether it is true or false, that knowledge may be inferred, with the intent to mislead another into relying upon it, and justifiable reliance upon the representation or concealment, and 6, a resultant injury proximately caused by the reliance. Tell me any fraud claim that you hear online is going to meet that high-ass standard. You want to know why it's not? Because fraud is only played in class action security cases. That's when you usually see it, not in consumer claims. Look at this. Look at this high-ass pleading standard. Do you know how much investigative research that you're going to have to do to get that? Why do you think it's only alleged in class action securities lawsuits brought on by the investors? Because they bring these class action lawsuits under the securities laws. You don't see these claims on outside of social media in normal everyday litigation. But fraud is a term that people think in their mind that if I raise it, I'll get the house for free. Right. Here, plaintiff has not included allegations regarding the circumstances constituting Key Bank's alleged fraud or mistake. Therefore, plaintiffs do not meet Rule 9B's heightened pleading standards. Ain't that what I just said? The heightened pleading standard? Huh?
You're rocking with the best.
Huh?
You're rocking with the best.
Nah, new coach, you don't know what you're talking about, boy. Go ahead. You don't know what you're talking about. Just go ahead, continue to read. You just got lucky on that one. No, he's been saying it for months and months and months and months. Well, I don't care about that. I'm still going to tell my students to raise the word fraud. Why would you do that if they can't satisfy the heightened pleading standard? I can't change the narrative now. Shit, they already paid money for this type of talk. Can't be honest now. They're going to go to someone else. I ain't going to get the money. You know, this is my only source of income right here. Can't pay my bills unless they pay me for shit. Moreover, plaintiffs have not identified when, if ever, Key Bank represented to plaintiffs that they were successors to the loan. You see, when the plaintiffs put this on paper, they in their mind, they thought they had them until they get hit with the legal lens. Boy, the legal lens I be having people mad about that legal lens. They be want to make hit pieces. They want to do character assassinations. All because they can't get up from under that legal. Hey, I ain't never met these gurus yet who can stand up under that legal lens. That goddamn legal lens is crazy, boy. That legal lens, sheesh. Instead, plaintiffs alleged that KeyBank, through its attorney, informed plaintiffs that it would not recognize them as successors to the loan without refinancing. At most, plaintiffs have alleged that KeyBank did not continue First Niagara's practice of allowing Mark Carey to make payments on the loan. Accordingly, plaintiffs have failed to plausibly allege that it was KeyBank who falsely represented to plaintiffs that they were the successors to the loan and that it was justifiable to rely on such a representation. Yep, you can bury that claim in a ditch. RESPA violation. Woo, we getting into deep waters now. Count 6 alleges that KeyBank is subject to the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act because a lender, particularly as the loan may be assumed without its approval. This count further alleged that KeyBank violated RESPA by failing to provide a written response to plaintiffs' qualified written request. Now, before we get to this, just think about what I said in the first part of this live about people's QWRs. Just think about it. Keep it in mind. Let's see if we see any similarities from the report. Let's just see. Seeking information related to loan service, related to servicing the loan. Plaintiff alleged that they repeatedly and continuously issued QWRs demanding that Key correct its erroneous assertions that the loan obligor was still Ronald Carey, contrary to this assumption binding plaintiffs, Niagara and Key. Plaintiffs alleged that KeyBank violated RESPA by erroneously identifying Ronald Carey as the loan obligor, ignoring the notices to plaintiffs to the contrary, and failing to correct his records to reflect them as successors. Plaintiffs alleged that KeyBank erroneously stated that the loan was in default and in danger of foreclosure. KeyBank disputes plaintiffs' allegation that the loan may be assumed without its approval. KeyBank further argues that even if this allegation were true, plaintiffs' claim would still fail. You know it's bad when they say, well, even if this was true, they'll still lose. That sounds like something I say in court. Your Honor, the defendant may admit this, and let's just say their argument was true. They would still fail as a matter of law because this, that, and the third, that, and the third, that, and this. Damn, taking the page out of my book. Plaintiff's claim would still fail because RESPA only applies to any assumption in which the lender's permission is both required and obtained. Quoting 12 CFR 1024.5 B5. God damn, they didn't even read it. Sheesh. For plaintiffs' alleged QWRs, KeyBank emphasizes that this term has a specific definition that only encompasses correspondences that relates to the servicing of the loan, not the securitization of the loan, not the chain of title of the loan, not the chain of custody of the loan, not the who and the Tom, Dick, and Harry owns the loan, not the who owns the loan is a debt validation letter. But y'all want to ask 5,000 things in your servicing. Shit, they ain't got nothing to do with the servicing. You slap it on the QWR and then wonder why you get met with silence. Remember, these are self-inflicted wounds that I'm speaking on. You can't get mad at me because I'm pointing out the self-inflicting wounds in this space due to lack of understanding. People are filing complaints, sending letters based off a narrative that they believe in rather than what's viable under the statutes and the law. Do you think many people read these statutes in depth before they file them? No. Because if they did, they would never send almost 90% of the ones that they send. So you know they're not reading it. They're getting a template. They're getting a cheat sheet. They're getting a document, and they're just copying and pasting it. Can't explain why they're asking for it. Why is it material? How it affects their loan, how it affects the servicing, because this is what this space is, a template copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, copy, paste, paste, template, regurgitate the same shit, regurgitate the narratives, copy, paste. That's all this space is. It's nothing more. It's nothing more. One webinar, you're going to have 50,000 teachers saying the same thing in their webinars. One process, 50,000 teachers teaching the same thing. It's been like this. Oh, tender of performance, tender of payment under God's law, natural law. You think that's something so new? Well, I've been studying for years, bro. Bro, you've been studying the same shit people tried 30 years before you even came here. They've been saying that tender of performance shit for at least 25 years before us. So no. Yeah, if you've been studying, you just been studying the same shit that's already been done. Ain't nothing new under the sun. I've yet to see a groundbreaking, very rare, very new. I've yet to see it in this space. And I'm not being biased. I've yet to see it. This definition ensures that the statutory duty to respond does not arise with respect to all inquiries or complaints from borrowers to servicers. Quoting Kavanaugh versus Specialized Loan Servicer LLC, that was in the report. KeyBank further highlights that servicers are only obligated to respond to QWRs that are sent to the servicer's designated address. KeyBank emphasizes that the complaint does not include copies of the alleged QWRs or information about when or where these requests were sent. Without these details, KeyBank argues that the complaint does not contain facts sufficient to reasonably infer that the alleged correspondence satisfied the definition of a QWR, such that KeyBank will only have any obligation to respond. They are scalping them with the letter of the statute. Told you, these lawyers are going to scalp you using your own ignorance, own experience, own misinterpretation against you. And it happens day in and day out. They take your inexperience and they use it against you in court. See how technical that was? They just scalped them with so subtle, but so deadly. Just destroyed their whole QWR argument in the last sentence. Right here. Without these details, KeyBank argues that the complaint does not contain facts sufficient to reasonably infer that the alleged correspondences satisfied the definition of a QWR, such that KeyBank would have any obligation to respond. That is a professional scalpel. Just destroys the whole argument. That is a professional scalpel. Lastly, KeyBank notes that RESPA has a 3-year statute of limitations, which will bar any claims related to alleged QWRs sent prior to July 2020. Oh, they are pulling the fucking scalpel out on them. And the plaintiffs don't know what to do. And you want to know what's even worse than this? The plaintiff's complaint opened their ass up for this response. Told you, walking yourselves off the fiscal cliff. That's all this is a self-inflicted wound, walking themselves off the fiscal cliff. Off the fiscal cliff. Plaintiffs has not plausibly stated that RESPA should apply to this in the absence of KeyBank's approval of the assumption. Plaintiffs have not alleged that they sent QWRs to which KeyBank was obligated to respond under RESPA. Moreover, plaintiffs have also not alleged that the RESPA claim is timely. TILA violation. Hey, that's another one. Ain't that another one in this space? TILA, right? The sham of a statute. One of the biggest scam statutes ever. Count 7 alleged that bank violated TILA by continuously demanding that the plaintiffs refinance the loan as the sole means of adding Mark as a party to the loan, while refusing to recognize the assumption. Plaintiffs further alleged that Key Bank's misconduct was purely to benefit itself to obtain more compensation from a new loan on the property, which is not in the best interest of the plaintiffs. We call that a legal conclusion. That is what I call a legal conclusion. Key Bank argues that none of the TILA provisions referenced in the complaint require Key Bank to add Mark Carey to the loan. Scalp them with one sentence. No, just destroyed their whole argument. One sentence. That destroys the whole argument. That destroyed the whole argument right there, that first sentence. Key Bank acknowledged that 12 CFR 102620F requires certain disclosures for confirmed successors and interests, but argues that this regulation did not go into effect until 2018. Key Bank acknowledged that a refusal to accept and apply payments may create liability under 15 U.S.C. 1639F. We're talking about real payments, not your international promissory notes, not your self-created typed up bill of exchanges that you got all scribed or Googled online, not your Versa checks that you got from Office Depot and typed in the routing number of the Federal Reserve for the letter on your back of your Social Security card, and your Social Security number is the account number. We ain't talking about that. So don't try to look, I could take my little fake check in the plat. Nope. Real money written on the account in which you have direct access to, in which once they process the check, their balance in your checking account or savings account or whatever account the check is written on is going to decrease. I'm sorry we have to say that in this space. We should already know what it means, but the semantics game's at an all-time high in this space. So I gotta make the normal everyday meanings of financial transactions and break it down to its smallest fraction. But notes that the complaint does not cite this section. Furthermore, section 1639F is subject to a 1-year statute of limitations, which will bar claims related to Mark Carey's unsuccessful attempt to make payments in 2016 and 2017. Key Bank argues that even making every inference in favor of plaintiffs, the statute of limitations expired long before plaintiffs filed the complaint in 2023. Plaintiff has not alleged that TILA required Key Bank to add Mark Carey to the loan as a successor. Plaintiff has also not plausibly stated why the court should retroactively apply TILA. See how they just leaving themselves open? Lastly, plaintiff has not alleged that their claim is timely under TILA's 1-year statute of limitations. Conspiracy. It's another big one you hear online. Count 8 alleges conspiracy by all defendants. Specifically, plaintiffs allege that defendants conspired to disregard the assumption, foreclose the loan against the property, and hold plaintiffs in default of the loan instead of recognizing the assumption to affect the other misconduct alleged here. To again harm them, for which they are liable contrary to their bare denials that they did not do so. Key Bank argues that this count is simply a rote citation of the elements of conspiracy, aka a threadbare recital of the elements of a cause of action in which Bell Atlantic versus Twombly and Ashcroft versus Iqbal told you can't do to survive a Rule 12b6 motion. But sadly, this is how pro se litigants only know how to argue. They only know how to argue by citing the elements of the cause of action and then concluded that some fraud and violation occurred. That is 98% of pro se litigation arguments in the complaint. Is that right there? That's exactly what I see. Key Bank emphasizes that plaintiffs do not allege any malicious combination of Key Bank together with defendants Gross Polloway LLC and Morin LLP, causing injury to plaintiffs. Likewise, Key Banks argues that the complaint does not allege the existence of any unlawful act independent from the conspiracy itself. To establish civil conspiracy, a plaintiff must plausibly allege a combination of two or more persons causing injury to another person or property and the existence of an unlawful act independent of the conspiracy itself. The problem is there's never really anything that they can prove online. It's just more conspiracy and fraud is nothing more than a emotional, I'm mad that you repossessed a home because my discharge documents didn't work. Instead of holding myself accountable and looking at myself as falling into that trap and getting scammed for that process, I'm going to take it out on the banks and the judge. That's all fraud and conspiracy is in this space. An emotional, I'm mad at you argument. Here, plaintiff's allegations do not move beyond reciting the elements. What did I just say? Here, plaintiff's allegations do not move beyond reciting the elements of a civil conspiracy claim, aka a threadbare recital of the elements of a cause of action. Plaintiffs do not allege how KeyBank, with gross Pollery and Morin, maliciously combined to cause injury to plaintiffs. Plaintiffs' allegations also do not establish the existence of a lawful act independent from the conspiracy itself. In sum, each of plaintiffs' claims against KeyBank fail under Rule 12b-6. KeyBank's motion to dismiss is therefore granted. What you just witnessed and heard or seen is a classic example of what I say every day. Classic to the T. Unsupported claims, making legal conclusions. Every time you just state the elements of the cause of action, you always conclude that there's some type of violation occurring. This is welcome to the pro se space. Not every single one, but the majority of the spaces, this is what it is. And it's at a 97%. So the little 3% that do things right, you are drowned out by the 97%. It is what it is. That's just the reality. That's the reality. That is the reality. So, okay. I think we have one. Let me see. Then we have one more. So this was an appeal. Medrano versus Protofound Mortgage Corporation, a California corporation, defendant 2012, United States Court of Appeals, 9th Circuit. Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act provides for action for damages against a mortgage loan servicers who fail to respond to certain types of inquiries from borrowers. Plaintiffs Jamie and Maribel Medrano allege that defendant Flagstar Bank, FSB, and the servicer of their home loan violated 12 USC 2605 because it did not respond adequately to 3 letters in which they challenged the monthly payment during their loan. Remember, just because you send multiple letters don't mean shit. Okay. The district court granted Flagstar's motion to dismiss the claim because a servicer must receive a valid, qualified written request to incur the duty to respond under Section 2605. Remember when I said just because you slap 5,000 things about securitization, when the servicer looks at it, they're going to look at whether you met your initial burden and making sure that under the statute, this request qualifies of a QWR under the statute. I know when teachers tell you online, send a QWR, best believe they're not thinking, send a QWR under the statute. No, a QWR is This is what they do online. They use real statutory terms as a vehicle to shoot their online narratives to the company, to the finance company. That's all. They use the statute. They get the heading right, QWR, but in the body of it, it's nothing but a social media narrative. That's all it is. Plaintiffs commenced this action in California State Court, alleging that Flagstar violated state law. After plaintiffs added federal claims under RESPA, Flagstar removed the action to federal court. The district court dismissed the federal claims and remanded the action to state court. Plaintiffs timely appeal. RESPA requires the servicer of a federally regulated mortgage loan to provide a timely written response to inquiries from borrowers regarding the servicing of their loans. If the servicer fails to respond properly to such requests, the statute entitles the borrower to recover actual damages if there is a pattern or practice of noncompliance, statutory damages of up to $1,000. Hey, once again, that doesn't mean they're letting you out of the mortgage. They will cut you a check and still send you a statement the next month. Here, Flagstar argues that regardless of how it responded to plaintiff's letters, it is not liable under the statute because the letters were not qualified written requests and therefore did not require a response. RESPA defines a QWR as a qualified written request should be written correspondence other than a notice on a payment coupon or other payment medium supplied by the servicer that includes or otherwise enables the servicer to identify the name and account of the borrower and includes a statement of the reasons for the belief of the borrower to the extent applicable that the account is in error or provides sufficient details to the servicer regarding the information sought by the borrower. None of that says anything about your 75 requests that you send to them. Turning to plaintiff's letter in this case, it is clear that they constitute challenges of the terms of the loan and mortgage documents. It is clear that they constitute challenges to the terms of the loan and mortgage documents and are not disputes regarding Flagstar servicing of the loan. What do I tell you? They use the QWRs, the notice of error, the RESPA to really attack standing, attack the chain of title, attack all that other stuff that has nothing to do with servicing. If everybody knew from the jump that you can only talk about servicing, many people wouldn't send the letters. The first letter states that the loan documents did not accurately reflect the proper payment schedule represented by the loan broker. That assertion amounts to an allegation of fraud or mistake during the closing of the loan and the drafting of the relevant documentations. Thus, it concerns only the loan's validity and terms, not its servicing. Well, Judge, why do people still send these types of requests in? Well, the new coach in my experience is on being on the bench. I kind of think that they send these servicing requests as really an attempt to attack the underlying mortgage and as a possible way of getting out of their mortgage debt. Oh, so you mean debt elimination mindset with everything that they do? Yeah. Correct. Thank you, Ronnie. I got it. Likewise, in the second letter, plaintiffs demanded that Flagstar revise all documentation concerning the current loan to reflect the original terms of the agreement. A request for a modification of a loan agreement, like one for rescission, does not concern the loan servicing. Finally, the sole request in the third letter is that plaintiffs' monthly payment be reduced because they were told when they purchased their home that those payments would not exceed $1,900. Again, that demand is a challenge to the terms of the loan and mortgage documents, premised on an assertion that the existing documents do not accurately reflect the true agreement between plaintiffs and the originating lender. Because the letter requests modification in those documents, it is not related to servicing. In sum, because plaintiffs' letters to Flagstar challenged the terms of their loans and requested modification of various loan and mortgage documents, they were not qualified written requests related to servicing a plaintiff's loan.
because 12 USC 2605 does not require a servicer to respond to such requests. The district court directly dismissed plaintiff's claims. Affirmed. You gonna learn. You gonna learn thinking you're gonna use securitization and QWR to attack your underlying mortgage. Y'all know y'all don't give a damn about the servicing. You're trying to attack the underlying mortgage through the servicer. Woo-wee. Whoa, child. Good God almighty. Get your ledger today in the Supreme Elite Team University. I don't know what else to tell you. I'll continue. You ain't do whatever you do.
Don't miss out on this opportunity to litigate like a seasoned Don't miss out on this opportunity to litigate like a seasoned professional. Join the Supreme Elite Team University.
It's a damn shame.